All right, Alec,
Alrighty.
welcome.
Thank you. Thanks
What's
for
up?
having me. Hey, nice to
Pleasure.
be here.
Great. Alec is co-founder of Spexi, right?
I was a late joiner. I co-founded a company that we merged into Spexi. So
Oh,
like
okay.
technically not precisely co-founder of Spexi, but early kind of
Okay.
yeah,
Late
COO.
joiner of
Yeah.
Spexi.
Yeah.
Alec, how are you today?
Good.
What's going
Good.
on?
It's nice to be in air conditioning. Dubai is hot, but it's good. We had a good morning. We actually went to the Burj Khalifa this morning and checked it out, which was really, really cool. That is a crazy building.
Oh,
So
I haven't had a chance to do anything. I've been indoor like 98% of the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So maybe the vacation will happen afterwards.
We had a little gap, so we said let's go. Well, we lined up like sheep in the line to get on the elevator, and but it was really cool. It was cool.
Sweet. One of those things that you gotta do,
Yeah,
like,
I don't come to Dubai very often.
Exactly. Sweet. So I don't know. I mean, I wanted to do this because I wanted to just discuss some stuff with you guys. I personally think Specs is one of the, can you say, hottest projects right now
Ooh,
in the space. At least one of my favorites.
awesome.
I think you guys do something really, really interesting. Why don't we maybe, for the people that don't know what you guys do quite yet, let's just maybe go through what is Spexi and how did this all come together?
Yeah, sure. So for you who don't know me, my name's Alec. I'm the chief operating officer at Spexi, and this one, thanks. And and so we're building the largest decentralized drone imaging network on Earth. And it started with our passion for aviation and imaging. So my background is a commercial helicopter pilot, and I flew all over Western Canada, fighting fires, flying miners around, logging, you name it. I did it in a helicopter.
Wow.
And drones kept coming up in our job sites, and they're really interesting to me, really interesting technology, in the early days, 2016, 2017. And so I got involved in drones on the regulation side with the government. With my involvement with helicopters, I helped the government, my last company that I co-founded, create some of the structure and exams that are in place in Canada for drone pilots. And I got a really good understanding of how drones can get into the manned airspace safely and be operated safely. And that company started doing really well. But around 2020, I met Bill, who's the CEO of Spexi. And he was in the early stages of building a software platform to coordinate drones and the drone pilots with opportunity, with work. And we had a bunch of drone pilots in our network, I think it was around 10,000 at the time. And so Bill and I said, why don't we put these things together and see what we can do? Bill's background is actually imaging the largest cities in North America using airplanes. So when you actually open up Google Maps, you're not seeing satellite imagery for the most part. When you're looking at cities, you're seeing airplane imagery. And so
Is it like specific types of airplanes or just regular commercial?
yeah, it's kind of like small twin engine airplanes. They're called like Pipers typically, and they have like a hole in the bottom of the plane. You cut a hole out of the bottom, and you put a really expensive like $2 million camera at the bottom. It has to be calibrated, and it's really actually quite complicated. And those planes literally fly over all of the biggest North American cities multiple times a year today. They do this now still. And so Bill's last company did this. It was actually one of the biggest in Canada to do this. And so they would sell data to Google, they would sell it to governments, they would sell it to insurance companies. And he was also looking at the drone space as I was, building sort of in parallel and going, you know what, those things, they're so good off the shelf and they're so cheap. They are going to take over this business. The first people to figure out how to coordinate and scale drones in a way that can compete with these planes and satellites, they're going to dominate the space. And so he sold his last company also and started to figure out how to do this with software. And that's where him and I got together. And so essentially what we do now is we use software to control the brains of off-the-shelf drones, mostly DJI drones, and pilots who own their drones. They download our mobile application and they can view areas that need to be flown over cities in North America right now. They're covered in hexagons. Those hexagons have flight plan data in them, and all the pilots have to do is get close to one of the hexes on Earth, look at their mobile phone, see that they're close enough, hit go on the mobile phone, and we take over the brain of the drone. The drone takes off and starts imaging that hexagon. exactly the same every time. It's fully autonomous, autopilot, everything. So the pilots are just sitting there monitoring for safety, drinking a coffee while their drone is flying and imaging this hex.
So as a pilot, all I have to do is get close to a hexagon
so
that the drone can take off. And
you have to be close enough so that you can see it. It's like, so the current drone regulations is you have to mostly keep your drone within your visual line of sight. And so we built the system to work within that framework. And it scales really well. So you can go hex to hex to hex. Takes about 7 minutes to fly a hex. And at the end of the day, then you upload the data that you've captured. And we have this really cool system called proof of capture that we've built, which actually uses the first implementation of our blockchain stack, where whenever the pilot hits the go button on the phone, we mint a soulbound NFT. And then when the pilot goes to upload the data that they've flown that day, we match the metadata from the time of flight versus the imagery that they're uploading. And if they match, then we reward them and we accept the imagery. And so that all happens on the blockchain, or the part of the verification step. And so basically we started really small in Western Canada to see if this would work. I mean, no one had ever done anything like this before, using off-the-shelf drones to try to fly entire cities with drones, very small drones. And it worked. The first city we flew was like, it just went up. Pilots went, and they got it all. And we were like, whoa, okay. So we did a bigger city. And then we did all of British Columbia, which is the most western province in Canada, which was under contract, a 7-figure contract for that data, because the Canadian government wanted it for wildfire preparedness. And so we said, well, let's do it with this. Let's see if it works. And captured Western BC in, I don't know, three weeks or something, most of it. And we were like, oh my God. So at that time we had raised a seed round, and Blockchain was our lead. And they were just like, guys, this is like, you guys are hitting this thing. Like we've never seen something like this. Like, so they wanted to keep it moving faster and faster. And so they actually led our Series A as well, which we closed in December. And now we're in over 200 cities and towns in North America. It's the largest drone imaging network on Earth, fully standardized. So each hexagon that covers these cities, and we've just flown over 100,000 of them now, the imagery is exactly the same everywhere. So it's like satellite imagery, just much, much, much higher resolution. Our imagery is 900 times more detailed than the best satellites, 200 times faster than airplanes, and 50 times cheaper than the next best. So all the stats start hitting, and our customers are going, oh my God, like, you know, how do we get our hands on this? And that's actually our next problem to solve, is getting the data into our customers' hands in a way that they really want and need it. Because the data is so heavy, is like an engineering challenge that we're leveling up to now.
Okay, interesting. I mean, I've gone through the app. I think the user experience is really good. And I think some of the last things that you have mentioned really hit a lot of like interesting points that I think make a very good argument for like a deepened model, or like deepened scaling model, or blockchain based applications. Like, one, you just went to people that already had some devices and they were looking for potential extra work. They're already pilots. They already have the hardware. So you don't need to like kick off the infrastructure from scratch. So blockchain model really helps there, basically scaling the supply right away, lower the costs. You're providing a better service at a lower cost. Is it something that you think could have been done in a regular, so like Web 2 model? Like, is it one of those applications like maybe GeoNet, where, you know, often Mike says like Web 2 scenario would require such a high entry cost that it's like
amount
makes
of capital
it
to make it happen.
Prohibitive. Like, is it one of those cases, one of the cases where like a deepen is like way outperforming the Web 2 counterpart?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. It's something that I think, you know, every deepen network, I think, has a different stance on this question, because it really depends on the scale of data and supply side that you need in order to make the network valuable for your customers. So in GeoNet's example, and Mike's a good friend, and we chat with them all the time and work together, and hosting an event with them later tonight. So hopefully see you all there. Geospatial Deepen Showcase tonight. It's going to be fun. But they require quite a bit of coverage in order for their customers to start buying data. And so for them, it makes sense to incentivize supply early on and do it at a big scale, because they can start to onboard more customers as that ramps up. And I think that fits Deepen really well. In our situation, it's a little bit different. Like imagery is fairly localized. We can sell it to select customers that scales with the amount of coverage we have. So if we have like city level coverage, we can sell it to actually municipalities, like just the cities. You can monetize that data, and insurance companies will pay for even city level data. When we start to think about getting more scale, so bigger amounts of data like country level, that opens up other segments of the customer base, like the federal governments, like much bigger AI and insurance plays and construction plays and development plays that we're speaking with customers now on. But what's unique about Spexi, I think, to answer your question, is that we can monetize the data even at small scales. So DeepIn really starts to show its value once we get the product market fit at those larger amounts of data, because then we can really turn the gas on capturing it fast and a little bit ahead of demand so that the customers can come in and buy data that's already there. Mm-hmm. I think for us, you could do this business in Web 2. You could. And in fact, right now we're paying pilots still in cash, although we're excited to announce some things later about token plans and the foundation that's existed. But DeepIn makes this a much more valuable network, a much more valuable proposition. And I think that's like a really good thing. I think networks that can only exist in DeepIn, it makes them a little bit risky in that the business model really better be sound, because if you put out all of this value in token and the business model doesn't work, it's not going to go far.
Yeah.
Whereas for us, I think like we're able to show that there's a business model even without a token. And then you introduce a token and you can just go faster, bigger, and stronger while still holding the business model to value. So
I totally agree. And it's actually something that I was sharing earlier when I was recording with Robin from Wingbits. Mm-hmm. The same thing. Like the whole blockchain part is a add-on extra tool in an application that would otherwise already be successful. Mm-hmm. You already have like a revenue model that already works. The blockchain tools just help adding, fuel to the fire, mm-hmm. basically.
Yeah, and I think like, we've seen a lot of networks come and go, and I think that the days are gone that the market, investors, retail, even customers will get excited about incentivizing the supply side of a network with a token
without the demand,
without really seeing enough demand to make sense of it. Like if you're putting 5, 10, 50, 100, $200 million of value out on the supply side to build the network, and you're generating, $500K in demand, 100 or $1 million in demand, even 5 million, the numbers just go like, okay, well, like imagine it in a Web 2 business. Yeah. Like you've spent 200 million and you're generating 5 million. Your deficit is so big that the fundamentals, like the market will not value that company very much. And I think, some networks do need a lot of supply in order for it to make sense on the demand side, but it's so hard to build the demand side that if you just make that decision to build the supply out really, really quickly and big before you have that demand working, and then you don't get the demand working like you think you did, like you thought you hoped you would, you basically get trapped because you can't get that value back on the supply side. Tokens are out. There's no free lunch. Even with crypto, you gotta pay the piper one way or another, and really the only way is with revenue. So
no, it makes total sense, and I find it very interesting. What you're saying, and because you guys are basically, this in the data collection, kind of like vertical of DeepIn. Mm-hmm. It's not like a service to a person that requires, I don't know, maybe wireless or something like that.
Yeah. It's much like the drone pilots are mostly consumer based, like B2C. It's kind of like a B2C play to get them to use the application, and
then your customer is B2B.
B2B, yeah. Exactly. So it's businesses that need access to much better imagery options than satellites or planes can provide, or faster and cheaper and much more carbon friendly. All of these things that we can provide value for, but
you don't need the critical mass to basically generate revenue, but the more mass you hit, the more customer segments you can.
There is like it does make sense for us to have more data because we can bring on bigger customers. But it's like, where does that stop, right? Like there's got to be some level that you say, okay, we're not gonna we're going to take a bet. We're going to put out this much token to capture all of North America and do it, 4 times a year, let's say, because we think that, the US government's going to want these 3 departments to come in. We're talking to them right now. The Canadian government wants all of Canada captured. Actually, let's say, the state of California has a wildfire play that they want to get into. And it's like, okay, this makes sense. Let's figure this out. But again, doing that is not without risk, because the value that goes out, it has to be justified somehow. And we think about buy and burn, right? So how do you get value from the token to the network? I'm sorry, from the cash that's paid by customers to the token and the network. Buy and burn's a great way to do it. A lot of projects do it, and I think that's something that will be implemented in our network as well. But where it starts to fall apart is if you have way too much supply out and you're buying, let's say your contract is 5 million and you have 200 million out, and you're able to start buying and burning token, once a month for like 50 grand as you're using that contract down. There's such a little amount of contract value versus the amount out that the market's not going to feel that price difference, right? They're going to go, okay, well, and that's where it starts to go, if only it was a more thoughtful expansion on the network and the demand was coming in sooner, that then when that cash was coming into token and buying and burning off the market, if it was taking like even 5 or 3% of the supply away with it, with a contract, the market would just look at that and go, oh my gosh, like that's so valuable. And so that's one of the ways we think about it. I mean, we don't have, I'm not trying to say that we've got it all figured out at all, but we're just trying to, we've been building since 2022. We haven't launched a token. We've been trying to build the business as best we can, get product market fit on the supply side, get as many customers as we can buying this data, using it, giving us feedback, so that when we do launch a token, or when the token does get launched, that there's some sense to how it's going to get built versus launch the token then figure it out.
Yeah,
because it's really hard to figure it out if you don't figure it out, with a lot of token going out the door. So
makes sense. So in this regard, what is Layer Drone?
Yeah, so really exciting. We have spun out the Web3 essentially stack from Spexi into a not-for-profit foundation called Layer Drone. Layer Drone is going to steward the network from the crypto and blockchain perspective. So they'll be managing mission assignments, governance, crypto economics, and the treasury. And they have plans to launch a token in the not too distant future. Hopefully, in the next 6 months, something like that. And we at Spexi will continue to build applications that interface with Layer Drone and its blockchain network. So all of Spexi's applications will be powered by the Layer Drone network. And we plan to adopt their token once they launch it into our systems, so that pilots will then switch from earning cash to earning token. And we will continue to sell that data on Layer Drone's behalf. So the model we're going after is basically that Layer Drone has all of this data that pilots are uploading to the network. Layer Drone's mission is to proliferate the network as long as it's sustainable and viable. And Spexi is a value-added provider to basically buy that data from Layer Drone and sell it to its customers. And so Layer Drone will set a price for its data, and Spexi will pay that price. Mm-hmm. And in time, we hope that others will do the exact same. So, whether Google wants to start ingesting data into their applications, they might start through Spexi, but they might go, you know what, actually, Spexi, we're going to get a better deal with Layer Drone, and we're going to build applications that suck up that raw data based on the specifications that Layer Drone provides.
Okay. So Spexi would be kind of like the first channel.
Spexi is like the first go-to-market for Layer Drone's data, but ultimately, it's in Layer Drone's best interest to have many Spexis.
Exactly.
Buying its data, doing different things with it, and not just crypto companies, but anyone in Web 2 that wants to work with much better imagery than what currently is in the market. And that same one on the supply side. So Spexi's mobile application that interfaces with the drones. This will be the first application that is able to get data into Layer Drone, and it's been doing it for the last year. But we hope to see also that maybe some other companies will want to build input applications as well based on their requirements for data. And Layer Drone will publish standards that make sense for the network. So we might have a situation where you have multiple companies interacting with Layer Drone directly, and potentially multiple companies that are building contributor applications that interface with the protocol. So it's a little different than I think a lot of networks have done. Like, we're launching a new brand, spinning it out and letting them do their thing in advance of a token launch. But we think overall this is a much more sustainable approach to building these things.
It makes sense. Is Layer Drone gonna be like a DAO or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it'll be, I mean, initially it'll be governed by the foundation, and there's a director there and a team that's going to run it. And we will be, Spexy's under contract to build software and make sure things are running. And like, in the early days, it'll be a synergistic relationship.
Totally.
But over time, things will start to grow based on what makes the most sense for Layer Drone and Spexy. And the token holders ultimately will have a lot of say in what goes on.
Oh, that's awesome. Sweet. And did you say did we talk about the roadmap for that or?
Well, yeah. So this year we expect,
like, for the people that maybe follow you or like want to know more, like how is this unfolding?
Yeah. So Layer Drone has been spun out. It exists now. It's operating. It's doing its thing. We expect to see them launch a token in the not too distant future, hopefully within 6 months. And then we're just going to be scaling. So I think, you'll see a lot of new areas and cities come on the network. Hopefully a lot of exciting announcements on, customers and things like that. And,
cool.
and we've been doing a lot of work in the background. Spexy has to be building this up. And there's some really, really interesting use cases on the spatial AI side of things. So the next generation of LLMs is kind of this spatially thinking AI that can think in the physical world instead of semantically, but actually work its way around the physical world and enable things like scooters or cars or drones or to use AI to make their way around instead of working on semantic apps. So this is a really exciting use case that we're working on.
You're totally, I'm into it, like, all day, every day. I mean, at IoTex, the connecting basically machines, all these with AI agents, like all these sensor networks or all these like sensors that AI can have into the physical world. It's basically one of the coolest things that's been happening in the past year, past few months.
For sure. I mean, there's been some really exciting announcements from much bigger companies than us that are working on this. And we think that, the internet now, which all the LLMs have trained on, it's mostly text. There's definitely a lot of imagery out there, but it's not organized. It's not structured. It's kind of just imagery from phones and shit and, you name it. Whereas what Spexy's building and what Layer Drone is going to steward moving forward is a fully standardized and quality-driven imagery network. It's almost like the Internet of Imagery in a way of Earth. And so we believe that these next generation AI models are going to want to train on this data. And in fact, we know they will because we're working with some of these companies that are interested in it. And so having an ever-updating, fully standardized, ultra-high resolution view of the Earth that the AI can train on to learn more about how it's going to think about the Earth spatially is like one of the most exciting things for us to be building into. So
yeah, I totally agree. I'm super looking forward to what's next in the pipeline for you guys. I mean, I don't know. We could talk about this forever.
We could.
But for example, something else that you said, it's basically that I think makes a lot of sense for Deepins is the city by city approach that you did at the beginning in the bootstrapping phase. I wanted to talk about that, but now that we went into the AI, it kind of like opened up this whole other conversation. But something to point out maybe for people that are thinking about launching their own Deepins, I think what you guys did was really smart. Other than that, I mean, good roadmap. We talked about that for people who want to follow you. Maybe how to stay in touch with you guys and what would you suggest if people are like, oh, interesting, I'm into drones, so I want to join the Spexy network.
Yeah, so if you like drones, check us out. It's kind of this really unique drone network that hopefully will relate to you. So Spexi.com is a great place to find us. You can download the apps there to get involved in North America. Layerdrone.org or layerdrone.com. They'll both direct to the same place. You can learn more about the foundation. The white paper is there and published, and so the technical architecture and how things are planning to look into the future. It's a really in-depth white paper, maybe a little more in-depth than I would have liked, but we really wanted to get out the thinking that's been behind this for years, and so it's long, but bear with us. It's worth the read.
I mean, if people are into it, I think once you read a white paper, it's like has to be like
it's
satisfying.
It's a very well done white paper. We had a great team with us on it. So layerdrone.org, Spexi.com, on X and Discord. Please come join the community at Discord at Spexi or Layer Drone. They both go to the same place, and It's a really vibrant community. It's growing like crazy right now. And Layer Drone also just announced a points campaign. So if you want to get involved, there's 2 ways. The first way is to fly your drone on the Spexi network, and you earn points and cash, and that will happen right up until the network switches to mainnet. And so that's the most valuable thing to do. If you're in North America and you have the right drone, that's where it's going to stay. But if you don't, and it's anywhere in the world you want to get involved, there's experience points that you can earn. They're called XPs, and you can join the Discord, follow us on Twitter, do some social quests, which are all laid out in the points campaign. And you don't have to have a drone for that. You can just be active online, and you can start earning points.
And since you were talking about basically all around the world rather than just North America, do you have like plans maybe to start getting out of the North American continent?
For sure. We've been doing a lot of testing in the UK with customers, and a lot of demand in other countries in Europe. So Europe will likely be the next place that the network expands to. Australia and New Zealand also have a lot of interesting opportunities there. But I think you'll see that it's not going to be everywhere all at once. It will be a much more thoughtful expansion than just like all countries that might accept drones. So it'll likely go country by country, maybe even parts of countries at a time.
Makes sense.
But the Layer Drone Foundation will be announcing much more of that into the future.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, I do remember first time I heard about Spexi, I was at the T-Pin, back then called, event in New York City, maybe 3 and some change years ago. So it's been great to see the progress.
Yeah, we've been sitting here watching a lot of projects go, and it's been great. It's been so awesome to see the growth in the space. And we feel like it's now we're feeling ready to take our steps. So So yeah, thanks so much, and it was really nice to speak with you.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay.